we get down to the teens by the time we head into Monday night and Tuesday. So we're really seeing issues here when it comes to refreezing, and that's going to be the concern, and that would be why schools may be canceled potentially upwards of Tuesday, Wednesday, and beyond. That decision has not been made yet. However, Guilford County here in Greensboro, public schools are closed tomorrow, including teachers as well. Libraries are closed. The Trans-Siberian concert, which was supposed to be taking place tonight, has been rescheduled, has been rescheduled till Tuesday, and that may get postponed again. So there's a lot of cancellations. People here just want you to stay put. Enjoy it from the fireplace, Paul. There's no need to go outside. You have social media to take a look at what it looks like around your house, but stay safe, stay inside.
Yeah, and as the Christmas song says, the weather outside is frightful for sure. That's Chris Bruin in nearby Greensboro, North Carolina, part of the triad, the Piedmont Triad here. We have Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point, and they're all in the same boat between, we were talking about between 6 and maybe 12 plus inches of snow. We have definitely eclipsed the 12 inches here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But other areas in North Carolina still dealing with snow, but also some sleet and some freezing rain. I want to bring in Stephen Bolt. You can talk about the streets in the Charlotte area. And thanks for joining us this afternoon. And temperatures there right at freezing. You're seeing a mixed bag of precipitation. What are the conditions of the roadways around the city of Charlotte?
They vary throughout the city, but we're seeing a lot of slush. A little more on the roadways to the north end. So it is still dangerous out there.
And I know that the airport is open. We're talking over 1,000 flights have been canceled. What about the roads leading into the airport? Are they open and drivable and have been treated for these conditions?
Yes, we are, and we're working around the clock. We're going to continue to treat and clear the roads. We're on 24 hours at least through tomorrow, and we're applying salt to make sure that the ice doesn't bind to the pavement as well, since we are near those near freezing temperatures. So just, give our folks some room as we're out there, and we're going to work as hard as we can to get those areas cleared.
And have there been any reports of roads being closed because of these conditions, or you haven't really seen the type of snowfall or even ice to really warrant that yet?
No, I haven't been informed of any roads that are closed at this point. We didn't get the 12 inches that was potential at one point. But we do have those driving conditions, and as right now, I don't have anything that's closed.
Do you have any numbers in terms of accidents or spinouts around the Charlotte area on the roads?
I actually do not have that.
Okay, that is Stephen Bolt. Thanks for joining us from Talk Streets there in the Charlotte. He's the Deputy Manager of Streets in Charlotte. Thanks for that. And back here in Winston-Salem, we're kind of walking on this area, which is grass, and we're going to try to walk down to this table and chair. I mean, look at this. This is, well, not quite knee deep, but this is well into my shin deep here. And it's not just the straight snow we've been dealing with. We've also had gusty winds, talking 20 to 30 miles per hour. So we've been dealing with some blowing snow as well. But yeah, this is this is a lot of snow. We've watched all types of dogs out here. Big dogs are loving this. There's some little dogs that, this snow might be a little bit much for them. But look at this. Look at the amount of snow just sitting here on this table. Now that we're not protected, you can really I can feel the wind on my face. But this is a lot of light, fluffy snow. You can see here the wind is kind of blowing it now that we're not protected from the building over there. So that's what a lot of people are dealing with. And the roads are also dealing with snow being blown across it as well. So just like they said in Charlotte, give the road crews a break. Don't go out if you don't have to. Even joyriding, it's too dangerous. And you see a snow plow, don't pass it because typically they're trying to make the road safer, far safer behind that snow plow. And then rather than in front of it as well. Not to mention the sand and salt that they're spraying. Sometimes there's rocks in that. Not a good combination for the paint job on your car as well. All right, let's talk to Mark Elliott now back in the studio to talk about what's going on with Winter Storm Diego and how it's kind of transitioning. And Mark, we've kind of seen and felt the snow kind of end here, more like a a combination of light mist. At times it almost feels like rain coming down here. So we're going through a little precip change currently in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, that's not that surprising. There's some warm air coming in aloft, but, damage already done. You saw that walk that Paul was doing. Paul's a tall dude, right? If it's going up to his mid-shin, it's up to my waist. Let's face it, there's a lot of snow out there. There will be several areas that are seeing snow that you've never thought you would see. Living outside of, let's say, Asheville, and we're talking, numbers in that foot and a half range, things that people talk about the superstorm of 93. This rivals some of those numbers for this area, and it's been a long time. Many people have moved into this area since then and have never experienced snowstorms like this before. How about Southwest Virginia, not too far from Roanoke? We're getting some big totals, 5 inches in Roanoke, but Salem City 9.5, Fancy Gap 14, Spring Valley 15.5. A big-time storm for Southwest Virginia as well. There is still a corridor of good snow still to come, especially within here. Outside Richmond, the west side of Richmond could pick up another 3 to 5. There's an additional 3 to 5, maybe even some pockets of 5 to 8 that are not out of the question in western North Carolina, especially if you get that extra little help from that upper level kicker that's still trying to swing on through. And you know what? It is tough if you've lost power already. Road crews and repair crews are trying to get out there to get everything up, but you know how difficult it would be to get lines repaired if a tree fell on a power line, and you got to be able to get there first. So the road crews have to come through first, then the power crews come in. Big outages around Charlotte, around Greenville, no picnic around Asheville or Raleigh, and temperatures will be falling, falling tonight to some degree, but certainly by Monday night into Tuesday, really cold air comes in. Hopefully the power will be back on by then. Mecklenburg, one of the big losers, 53,000 customers there without power. Greenville, 56, almost 57,000 outages there. As for that upper level feature, you can pick that out in here. There's a little extra swirl coming through, and this is going to really go into the same area that was just hit and try to continue that snow a little bit longer. That said, we've got some really good banding features of snow north of Raleigh right now, so extreme northern North Carolina, and then following that into Richmond. That said, Richmond is starting to change over as well. A little bit of this warm air aloft is coming into play, and so although we have some very heavy snowfall rates, we also have some mixing, maybe some bright banding happening there also. So maybe not getting to that 2 inch per hour snowfall rate because of some of the melting and the sleet mixing on in. As we go through the rest of our day, however, we're going to continue to see that snow refilling in. This is now 6 a.m. Monday. Another burst of snow, eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina. We're then looking at some rain showers through the rest of the southeast. That was, this is the peak heating time of the day, Monday, 5 o'clock, and we're talking what? Mid to upper 30s. It's not going to be a warm day by any stretch, but it is a function of degrees. Paul, just above freezing goes a long way. But then again, I'm cautioning everyone for Monday night into Tuesday, widespread readings below freezing. And so refreezing on those roads will be a problem for the Tuesday morning commute. Over to you.
For sure. Again, temperatures, it's crucial. That 32, 33 goes a long way. It turns something that's frozen, something that's actually melting, and then you talk about the crash over. I think that's why there's a good chance we'll still have a lot of school closures, at least in this part of North Carolina, for Tuesday as well, because a foot plus of snow is not going anywhere. And imagine having a little rain, a little crusty top on top of this. It's actually pretty firm right now with a little sleet. So you have an icy layer on top of that. So if you're shoveling, you're plowing, great. In fact, take a look down here towards the sidewalks. We got some shovel gangs here doing their best work by hand, shoveling all this snow, taking some breaks and some water as needed, because this is definitely a hard job to do. But as long as they put the ice melt down, we're going to get through this, and the sidewalks will stay passable. But when you don't treat the sidewalks, when you have those temperatures like tomorrow night, when they get down into the 20s, you're going to have another hard freeze of this. And what might look like just wet pavement, wet asphalt could be actually a sheet of ice. So big concerns into Tuesday morning as well. Let's talk about this, because travel is going to be a big issue in this part of the world, not only for today, but also tomorrow. Chris Warren has more on the travel headaches that Winter Storm Diego is bringing us.
Yeah, it is bringing some big-time headaches, Paul. And unfortunately, Diego, not only is it a huge, impactful storm, it has proven deadly. Here's what we know at this hour. At least 6 people have died
because of Diego, 1 in California, 2 in Texas, and 3 people who died in North Carolina because of carbon monoxide poisoning. Schools are canceled tomorrow in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and it's home country as well. And it's home county, I should say. More than 460,000 customers have lost power in the Southeast. Nearly 1,700 flights have been canceled so far today.
Jeez. Welcome back to our coverage of Winter Storm Diego, and you're looking at snowy scenes across North Carolina. People, doing a lot of this, shoveling, raking, sweeping the snow off their cars into the mountains. Our highest snowfall we've seen reported as of 2:30 this afternoon, 18.5 inches in Saluda, as well as is it Cedar Mountain, North Carolina, both with more than 18 inches in Cedar Mountain, 18.5 in Saluda. 1.5 feet of snow from the system are not quite done. Here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, we've had last count officially, I think it was around, say, 10:30, 11 inches. I've measured well over 12 inches the last hour or so, and now we've seen our precipitation change to more of a freezing rain falling now. And I want to illustrate what's going on here at the ground. Temperatures here are below freezing. Things are below freezing, like these stairs and this banister. But take a look. You can see the rain. That's clearly liquid there, right? Or is it? That's ice. See that? That's the rain falling on this, and because the metal is below freezing, it freezes on contact. So this is what's happening to some roads, to some bridges, to some overpasses, to some trees, to some power lines. You're getting a little glaze of ice now after we picked up all that snow. I mean, all this plastic thing is also ice. So that's the concern and the threat now that some parts of North Carolina are experiencing. We had video earlier from Arkansas showing ice-covered trees being weighted down with a coating of ice. That's a big concern. These sidewalks have been plowed. They've put down some ice melt as well, so safe to walk over here. I'm going to try to get out here towards the street. You can see the guys taking a break, shoveling. A lot of this is being done by hand. I don't know if you can make it through this, Matt, so be careful. I'm a little bit taller than my photographer. Yeah, Matt, short jokes. He's not happy with you right now. But let's get into the road here. And you can see the roads they've been plowed at times. They've had some salt and sand put down as well. So it's more of a slush. So you can definitely get down to some of the asphalt here, the pavement, which is great. It'll get some sunshine tomorrow. But the bottom line is, while you might have some areas that you can get some traction, there is a lot of slush. That's going to reduce traction. So traveling is challenging at best when you have more than a foot of snow on the ground. We also saw plenty of snow out towards Greensboro. Let's check in with Chris Bruin, who's out there right now. And Chris, you're east of me by no more than 40 or 50 miles, but you've seen not as much snow as we have, and you've been in the kind of the sleet and now freezing rain currently.
Yeah, Paul, we officially got a foot of snow. Some areas north of Greensboro got even more. By the way, making the top 3 snowiest days on record here of all time, not just of December, but of all time. Take a look at what we're going to have to be digging out with. If you didn't move your car last night, you might not be able to do so, especially now that the plows are making the snow plows even higher. Look at this this car right here on the side of the street. Look at how, this isn't going anywhere. Hopefully they don't plan on taking this car out, but there's a lot of scenes like this. And even just look down the street here. There's been several cars stuck up as you go up towards that hill down there. We've seen some tow trucks down the way. And look at the roads. Even though the plows have come through, there is a nice layer of slushy ice. Temperatures, guys, are in the 20s. We're at 29 right now. And the other issue we have to talk about, the winds. Look at the trees just rustling. That's one thing I've really noticed come through. The winds just kind of funnel in some of these downtown streets. We've seen gusts over 30 miles per hour. This is the issue, not just here in Greensboro, but across North Carolina. It's bringing down trees. We've seen that in Raleigh. Trees down on Wade Avenue causing power outages. This is why maybe you haven't lost power yet, okay? But don't think we're over and done with. We've got the whole rest of the day. We're going to have kind of a wintry mix of sleet, freezing rain, maybe some more snow, and maybe even rain. So what we've seen already is not over and done with. And then the winds are going to kind of linger a bit longer as the snow plows continue to come through. The downtown Greensboro Authority doing a good job clearing up the sidewalks. It's a little loud. But Paul, here's the deal. As we go into the next few days, temperatures at night are going to get down into the teens. So whatever isn't melted, and that's pretty much every street here, is going to refreeze. So we're actually going back to Chris Warren. And Chris, you know, I have to say, I've been in some northern snowstorms, and this is reminiscent of what it looks like up towards Canada.
It's a lot of snow, Chris. No two ways about it. For a lot of people that usually don't see this much snow in some areas, looking at about a year's supply of snowfall in one shot here. Let's take a look at, unfortunately, what is causing some problems, some headaches, are all the cancellations for a lot of people there. Most of the 1,600 cancellations coming out of Charlotte. 1,118 flights have been canceled. Also, dozens of flights canceled out of Atlanta, and a couple dozen there, a little bit more than a couple dozen out of Orlando. Look at where it's going to be a little tricky at times on the roads, east or west on Interstate 40. Also, be careful on the roads tomorrow along Interstate 85. We'll be right back.
So we're walking through the station at Mill Point trying to get some measurements of how deep the snow is, and we wanted to stop by this nice palm tree here because it's some juxtaposition of a tropical plant being covered with snow. So we're going to check out how deep it is here. I've got my handy dandy ruler, and look at that, more than a foot of snow. It goes all the way in. So we're walking through.
Yep, a foot of snow there, a foot of snow here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, all courtesy of Winter Storm Diego. If you kind of walk down the street a little bit, the sidewalks definitely have been shoveled, but you know, with the freezing rain now, they're still a little slick. They're putting ice melt down, but it is still a little slippery from time to time to travel across the area. Roads as well, they have been plowed. Doesn't look like it, but they've also put some salt down, big piles of slush, and trust me, it's still not safe to travel. Notice a couple of cars kind of slipping and sliding. It's still, even four-wheel drive, you're going to have some problems because there are a lot of hills around here. It's not just flat and wide open, and not to mention the wind is blowing as well. We're seeing a little light freezing drizzle currently falling here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Let's talk about this because it's done a number on the roads all across this area of North Carolina as well as farther west. Let's check in now into Hamptonville, North Carolina. We have Kyle Bauer on the phone. And Kyle, I've heard that you've been stuck there for the last couple of hours. Talk about the road conditions you're experiencing there.
Yeah, Paul. I'm on Interstate 77, northbound lanes, actually at mile marker 77, and we've been stuck here for the past 3 hours from what is believed to be a couple tractor trailers stuck on a hill a couple miles up.
And have you noticed any cars who are turning around, trying to go the different direction, just trying to get out of that mess?
Fortunately, this is a part of the regular interstate, so they actually have a median. They have one of the wired medians here, but it's one of those situations where we're kind of stuck here, where we don't know what the future holds for us. Some of us are thinking all night. Some of us have started shutting off our cars to try to preserve fuel, and starting to look at different options.
And how is your fuel situation?
Yeah, so fortunately, I always come prepared, and so I got a case of water. I do have some fuel supplies and backup gasoline as well. So I'm really just a patient factor now at this point.
I can imagine that this backup is pretty long and it's taking up a lot of the lanes of traffic. So it's probably difficult to even get the emergency vehicles up towards where that, I guess, those stalled out or perhaps even accidents are.
Yeah, we actually had a coordinated event by the North Carolina State Troopers. We had a trooper come up and he started to maneuver all of us to the right side of the highway here on the northbound lane so he can make his way up with a NC-DOT truck as well as a Rucker right behind it to remove some of the vehicles up the road. So it was actually a successful coordinated event, and I could see them still about a mile and a half up, still working the road.
And real quick, I know I see an 18-wheeler, I guess, in front of the truck in front of you. Do you know if they have chains on that? Or are they required at that stretch of the highway?
Are you speaking about the North Carolina Department of Transportation trucks?
No, that 18-wheeler, I guess, in front of the truck that's in front of you.
Oh, okay. I'm not 100% sure. Looks like a lot of the 18-wheelers that are driving on this particular northbound lane do not have chains. We actually saw one tractor-trailer driver, as we were stuck here, starting to put his chains on. So kind of a little too late for that, but now we're finding ourselves in this situation.
Yeah, unexpected for those drivers. All right, thanks. That is Kyle Bauer there, storm tracker there in Hamptonville, North Carolina. And I laugh because I have memories of being stuck in a highway all nights in California because of accidents. And yeah, not a pleasant experience. Good luck to him. But let's go. He's west of me. Let's go east of where I am into Greensboro. Or Chris Bruin is in the Greensboro area. And Chris, I know you got interstates around there, I-40. What's the conditions of some of the roads around that town?
Paul, you mentioned chains. I didn't even know they sold chains in the South. I did see a car that actually had chains on its front tires. So unless you have all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, you're really not getting around. Or maybe you have chains, maybe you have winter tires. But even then, it's not a guarantee you're going to be able to get out. A lot of people are getting stuck, and that's the problem.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Winter Storm Diego. You're looking at drone video over Hendersonville, North Carolina. What a postcard picture of the holidays you have there. And yeah, they picked up at least 10 inches of snow. I'm still seeing some snow in the area. It's a gorgeous scene as long as you can just watch it from above and not be in it. So that's a great view to enjoy parts of Diego, but not everyone enjoying it. And here in Winston-Salem, we've had at least a foot of snow. Actually, technically more than 12 inches I've measured. And now we're starting to see a changeover. We're dealing with some sleet. Now it's a light freezing drizzle coming on through here. It's changing the consistency of the snow. We had light fluffy snow. Now, I couldn't do this before. I couldn't make snowballs because the water now is sinking into this and it's making it packable. So this is changing things, and we talked about trying to get after the snow, and this is what's happening now. So we still have some light fluffy snow. Even that's starting to soak up the water too. There we go. There's some of that light fluffy snow. But that's why you want to get after this and start shoveling as soon as you can and slowly make your way to, bare pavement, because we have more coming. It's much easier to do if you don't have, maybe even a tenth of an inch of rain is going to add so much weight to this. I've always said shoveling snow is a young man's sport. So that's about all I'm going to do right now, because I don't have to. Fortunately, someone has been shoveling this sidewalk. Well, let's talk more about this, because we're seeing this kind of warm nose aloft kind of melting the snow and giving us rain here. And I want to bring in Mark Elliott. That's a whole game changer now when you're talking about perhaps a layer of ice on top of all this snow.
Yeah, Paul, it's still 29 degrees where you are. Are you seeing enough of that freezing drizzle that it's slick underneath your steps yet? Or is it still just, a coating on the snow?
Well, it's definitely on the snow, but also on some of the things. We saw a railings by the stairs had a coat of ice, and some of the sidewalks here, they've been putting down ice melt, but as you know, you can also wash it away. So it's just drizzle right now, which is pretty good. If you had a rain, that could easily wash away some of the salt, and then you could have the rain start to freeze on contact with things as well. So it's still okay right now as long as it stays just a drizzle, but that's a big concern. Some areas will see just a freezing rain, and that's a game changer right there.
It is amazing how little ice, how little of that freezing drizzle it takes to just shut down the roads. If it is an untreated surface, that freezing drizzle will add up. And that's, of course, on top of the snow that we saw. And the snow totals that we've seen have been very impressive. Right on forecast, but impressive nonetheless. I mean, this is a year's worth of snow in about 12 hours. Or some of these areas probably never thought they would wake up to see a snow like they have outside their front doors right now. Anywhere from 1.5 feet to almost 2 feet of snow in the mountains outside of Asheville. Southwest Virginia also had a huge snow out of this one. How about Roanoke now officially reporting 10.4, Blacksburg at 9.4, Spring Valley, one of the big winners, at 15.5 in Southwest Virginia. There is still a little bit more to come in the areas that were hit so hard from Southwest Virginia into Western North Carolina. Another couple of inches can't be ruled out. How about outside Richmond? Another 3 to 5 before all is said and done there. Power outages have been a problem, and it's been a very interesting setup. Very different reasons as to why we've had the power outages. Down here, it's because of rain that has saturated the ground and then wind that really kicked up and knocked out some trees. In this area, it's because of the heavy snow, and then a little bit of that icing got into the mix as well. That adds a lot of weight onto those tree branches. So in Charlotte, in Greenville, in Asheville, in Raleigh, there are power outages and issues for all of you. These numbers have come down a little bit in Mecklenburg County, 49.6 thousand customers without power. In Greenville, though, still right about at 57,000 customers without power there. We're not done with the storm system. Our coastal low is starting to take over now. It's still going to throw in a little bit more of that moisture into Virginia and North Carolina. I also want to point out this feature. This little swirl right in here is an upper level low. It's going to trek its way almost due east right into the areas that already had snow and enhance that precip overnight into Monday morning. So you are not done. Even as we are kind of drying out a bit, there's going to be an extra enhancement coming on through. That said, right now it's north of Raleigh with some nice snows getting towards the Richmond area. We're still following that zone. Heavy snow being reported in Richmond at 31 degrees. Just south and east from you, you are mixing now with some sleet being reported. As for the next several hours, we will continue to see that mixing taking over, but notice that refilling eastern Tennessee into western North Carolina, even into Monday. Want to go back out to Chris Bruin now in Greensboro. Chris.
Hey, Mike, thanks so much. Again, we're downtown Greensboro. You can kind of get an idea of what the roads look like behind me. I want to bring in the Greensboro Field Operations, Mike Maid. Thanks so much for joining us, Mike. First off, how are things going? How's the city holding up?
We're doing okay. Things are going very slow. We've had a lot of snow since around midnight last night, I think maybe 9 to 10 inches or so. It's just let up in the last hour or so. We're currently in our plowing operations. We started that early this morning. After we completed putting salt down on all our primary and secondary roads. We're focusing on our top 25 or so major thoroughfares right now, and we'll continue that through the evening.
Is there any regulations for residents who live on some of these neighborhood streets in the city on plowing their sidewalks, plowing their driveways, and things that maybe new people here to town may not know?
No, there are some regulations about downtown, but we've got crews as well that are working to get those cleared as quickly as possible, and they'll be working this evening and tomorrow to get that done.
What about roads? Are there any closures, and how are trees holding up? Many roads have trees down.
We've had a few scattered calls of trees that I'm aware of. So far, it seems like we haven't had a lot of tree calls, but I'm aware of a few, and we're responding to those as we get those.
And you mentioned you were born and raised not far away from here, grew up in this area your whole life, the Piedmont Triad. How does this rank up in past storms?
This would be up there in terms of the accumulations. We've had some that have reached maybe 13, 14 inches. That's been maybe 8, 10 years ago. But we don't get these type of storms maybe once every 4 or 5 years. And again, usually later in the season. So I would say this one definitely ranks in the top 5 or 6 in my career.
And going forward, what's the biggest challenge right now to keep the roads from icing over?
Well, the biggest thing will be racing Mother Nature. I think tonight the temperatures are supposed to stay in the upper 20s, which will help us in terms of continuing to clear the roads. Tomorrow night's when they're supposed to drop into the teens, which will be when things really tighten up in terms of with packed ice and snow. So things will probably slow down at that point. So we're trying to get as much of this out of here today and tonight and tomorrow as we can.
All right, thank you so much. We'll have much more continuing coverage right here on the Weather Channel when we return.
Watching the Weather Channel's continuous live coverage of Winter Storm Diego. We're taking you to Statesville, North Carolina right now. You can see video of a tractor trailer stuck in the snow. Man, if that doesn't explain what's going on today as far as travel in North Carolina, it is a tough day to get around, folks, and it's also a tough day in the air. I'm Justin Michaels. I'm live for you right now at Charlotte Douglas International Airport, where as of last check, more than 1,100 flights have been canceled. Many of those flights are American Airlines, and so many people are wondering whether they're going to be able to get out today at all. Most people are not going to be able to get out today, and that certainly is a problem for a lot of people. You can see people are checking in some cases. Some people are able to get their flights out, but for the most part, most people have a tough day, and it's going to extend to tomorrow as well. Let's go over here and talk to Laura Sundberg. Laura, you are one of the few in the crowd. I see your flight here says on time. Canceled on time. Well, that's got to be a welcome sign. What has this day been like building up to you coming to the airport, knowing there are all these cancellations?
It's been stressful. I have a work meeting in Nashville. I'm from Chicago. I've lived here for 2 weeks, so I'm used to the snow. I'm not used to the city shutting down when there's snow because it's like a normal day in the winter in Chicago.
Sure. Moving around today, just tell me, what was it like getting from your hotel or getting from where you were to the airport today?
You know, the highways are mostly clear. It's the side streets. It's slushy out there. We saw about 3 cars in the ditch, but they seem to be okay. Nothing terrible. So it was pretty seamless.